Hi everyone, it's Professor Kokinos. We're going to take a look at some of the advanced charting features in Excel today. It's Excel Module 10 that we'll be looking at. So one of the things about this one is it says that it's not compatible for the Mac. So I am going to show you the workarounds so that you can do it on a Mac, because pretty much you can accomplish everything. You might want to hand these in not only to MindTap, but also send me a copy and let me know if you were graded unfairly, and I will manually grade it for you. Okay, so let's take a look. We have here okay, so the first one, it's all about scooter sales. And we have our charts. You can see the pie chart is related to this data. Total sales is related to the quarters and these total rows. And quarterly sales is pretty much the whole bottom part of the workbook over here. Okay, so the first thing is to adjust the chart types. So, you know, when you have chart types, you basically have different ways of viewing your data. So a column chart is going to be good for comparison, and a line chart is good for tracking trends over time, typically. And then the other big one is the pie chart. So that's going to give you 100% or parts of a whole. And then some of the other ones are kind of combinations or different kind of interpretations of that, but I think those are the three main themes. It's always good to keep things as simple as possible too. So you don't want to overdo your chart if you don't have to. Okay, so the first thing is she wants to show some sales trends and make it as clean as possible. So we're going to take a look at the chart, which is a sales by state. Okay, so I think it's this one here. And the idea was to change it to a clustered column. Okay, so you can see in the Mac version here, when you click on a chart, you see two different tabs on the ribbon. The chart design one is the big one. The formatting one has some, you know, eye candy and color and things like that. But the big one, I think, is the chart design one. So the first thing we're going to look at then is the change chart type, and we're going to change it to a clustered column chart. Okay, so there you go. You got that pretty easy, you know. No pain there. The next thing they say is they want each one to be a different color. I'll hold off on that just for a second. So let me show you the other thing here is to change the data. So this one doesn't include Virginia. Okay, so Virginia is there, but it's not in the chart. So what we want to do is click on, with the chart selected, as you can see, it's got the highlight handles on there. So we'll go to select data. And you can see that it goes from B4 to C8, and Virginia would be C9, right? So let's change that, and we're going to add C9 in there, and bingo, Virginia appears. Okay, so that's a great way to modify the data that's actually in the chart with that select data. You can delete or add data if you want to do that. If you add new data to the worksheet and you want to rechart it, you can either select it and just delete the old chart, or use select data and then modify it. Okay, so the next thing then is apply style 6. Okay, I think that's it right here. So all the styles are right here, pretty easy to do. And they said something about different colors. So when you click on the data series here, so these are the data points that are in the worksheet, and they're interpreted into data series, or data markers, or series of markers here that give you a graphic interpretation of the data. And what we want to do is click again. See, when you click again, you get just one of them. And then I'm either right-clicking or control-clicking, and you get format data point here. So format data point will allow me to come over here and change the fill color to whatever we want. Okay, so that's how we can get different colors on each one of these. Okay, we're done with step 1. Step 2 then is to modify the axes to identify the data in the chart as follows. So what we're going to do first is look at the axes. This is the vertical axis, and looks like it's in money. And then we have the horizontal axis here with the various state names. And they're also represented in the legend. the state names. So the first thing is to add a vertical axis title. Okay, so if you highlight the vertical axis, you can go to chart elements. I don't even think you have to highlight it, I'm sorry. And you can do axis titles, primary vertical, and we're going to get a new title there. What we want to do is highlight that and then change it to 2019 sales. Okay, so then you can obviously highlight it again, and you can do things like go back to the Home tab, and this is pretty basic stuff. They ask you to change the size, you want to change the color, alignment, all kinds of stuff like that is going to be right there. So that's pretty easy. The next thing is to display units on the primary vertical axis in thousands. Okay, so we have these huge numbers here, and we can bring them down to thousands. So what we're going to do again is highlight the axis and right-click on it or control-click on it, format axis. And then let me get myself out of the way here. Units, here they are, display units, it says none. So if we change it to thousands, you'll see how it becomes a little bit more manageable now. The numbers aren't as large here, but they are labeled as thousands. So this would be 500,000 instead of just 500. Okay, just kind of tames the numbers a little bit. Okay, so the next thing is outside end data labels. You only have one choice on the Mac, I think. So again, if we right click on our data series here, sorry, get it again here. And then I'm going to
I missed that.
Control click on it.
Please?
And what we're going to do is add data labels. Okay, so the data labels is great because now you don't have to interpolate. It's between here, we know exactly the number right here, right to the, well, it's not to the dollar, remember, these are in thousands. Okay, so there's your data labels. I like to display those whenever I create a chart in Excel. They work very nicely. And then the next thing is to remove the primary horizontal data axis because, of course, we have the legend, so we don't really need it here. It's a little redundant, okay? So that's a matter of just selecting and hit the delete key. Bingo. Also makes the chart a little bit larger, so there's no reason to have, you know, extra baggage when we want the critical data to kind of shine, so we can make that a little larger. Okay, so that's step 2. The next step is to show trends in the quarterly sales data for each state, and we're going to show those with Sparklines. Okay, so let's look at the quarterly sales data chart, which is this guy. Actually, they want this, I think, right? Yeah, so that's the date actually over here, right? So Sparklines are like these little charts that actually appear. Maybe you don't want to create a chart. You're going to have a little Sparkline right in the workbook to kind of give you an idea of, you know, instead of interpreting these numbers and reading all of them, you can get a quick kind of down and dirty view at the trend that's going on. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do here for this. We're going to go to Insert and hang on a second. I'll find out where I am here. Yeah. Okay. So here's Sparklines. Okay, they're under the Insert tab, and they want column Sparklines. Okay, so when you do that, you're going to get a dialog box that's going to ask you 2 things. Select the range of data for the Sparklines, and then where you want the Sparklines to appear. Okay, so the range is going to be all this data here, okay, including the totals. G21, yeah, so it's including the totals. And then where they're going to live is going to be right here. Okay, let's see how that works. Yeah, great. So we got a little column Sparklines over here, and they look pretty decent. You can see, you know, here's our larger one, and here's our larger one, right? Here's our smallest one, here's our smallest one. So that works out pretty good. Insert Sparklines, column, and then you set your range, and then also the place where you want them to appear. Okay, so now you can actually change the colors of those Sparklines. Okay, over here you have the colors and color markers and things like that. So under Sparkline color, let's see what we got here. What are they asking me for? Gold accent 1. Okay, so that would be this guy. Okay, so there you go. It kind of goes along with the colors up there. And then they're also asking for a high point marker and change the high point marker and change the high point marker color to teal. Okay, so marker color and then high point and teal, I think is this guy, right? Okay, so even better now to see the high point pop at you because it's a different color. Okay, great. So now we're up to step 4. And what's happening here is make the quarterly sales 2019 chart in the range I1 to O12 easy to interpret by adding sales as the primary vertical axis title. Okay, so here we go. Let's first start by highlighting the chart. And remember, if we want to add something to the chart, we're going to go to chart design and add chart element. And the element we're going to add here is a primary vertical axis. So title. So here we go, axis title, primary vertical, and we're going to highlight again, and just highlighting by hopefully double clicking or clicking and dragging. Sometimes it's not that cooperative. You might have to, but you get the idea. Okay, sorry, not as facile as I hoped, but works. Okay, so the next thing is to increase the size. Okay, same old stuff with that, right? So that's pretty basic stuff. You're going to go to your home tab. There's no mini toolbar, unfortunately, on the Mac version here. So you have to just go in there, and 12 points is what they want. So we do that. It makes it a little bit bigger. We're good. Okay. The next thing then is to increase the, no, I'm sorry, add quarters as the primary horizontal axis title. Okay, so same thing, chart design. And then primary horizontal, and it's going to be quarters. Okay, so again, we're just going to highlight this. Of course, it doesn't work while I'm recording this for you guys. There we go. Okay, so quarters, and then again, they want 12 points. So back home, and just bring the size to 12. Okay, so the next thing then is to change the color of the chart to color 1. So here is the color change on the Mac, and the monochromatic color 1 is this guy here, and bingo. Okay, so that looks good. It kind of works nicely with this chart again. So there we go with that. And the next thing then is to go to the sales by state. We're there. Sales by state chart, right? It's this guy, right? Okay, I think I'm going to stop here for a second because I've got to change my battery. Okay, so here we are for part 2, and we're up to, I think, okay. Hi, everybody. So this is part 2. We're up to step 5 in project 1 for module 10 of Excel. So Kristen wants to highlight the quarterly sales by state chart, format the clustered column chart in the range H13 to O28 as follows. So let's go to
Sales by state. I think we're good here. And then she wants to move the chart to a new sheet. Okay, so the way you do that is with this move chart command over here, and you can put it on its own sheet or you can put it in another sheet. So we're going to put it in its own sheet and sales by state. Okay, so you're going to name that sheet, bingo, and sorry, gotta make the right name because that already exists. Okay, so there we go. So now we have the chart on its own separate sheet tab here. And what do we want to do to it? Well, it's nice that it stands out by itself, first of all. So that might be one thing, makes it kind of stand out that it's all by itself and bigger. And the next thing we're going to do is add sales as the primary vertical axis title. Okay, so we know how to do that, right? So we click on this, add chart element, chart title, axis title, primary vertical. Again, we got to select this, and then it's sales. Okay, and then I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing actually. So the next step after we moved this was to change the chart type to a stacked column. Okay, so with the chart selected, we're going to go to change chart type, go to the column group, and here are the stacked columns. So what that's going to do is, I like this actually because there's just too many of these columns and it's just all over the place. So watch what the stacked one is going to do. It's going to kind of really bring them down, right? So we have our legends over here, which tells us what each state is in the quarter as far as the color, and now they're stacked. And it's a little easier to kind of see what's going on as far as they're not, so many different ones there. Now we only have 4, but each one has parts to it. So you can kind of focus a little bit better. And it's all about focus. So the next thing you want to do is remove the legend. Okay, so just click on the legend and hit delete. That's going to do it for the Mac version, and that's pretty straightforward. What's the next thing here? Add a data table with legend keys. So here we go again, back to add chart elements and data table. So this is basically similar to what you would see in the worksheet. It's going to be the data that goes into this chart, and it's going to have its own little legend built in. So here's the legend colors for each state, and now we have the data table here. So this is great because we can look at not only the visual, but also the actual data points there. So we can kind of, scan both of them in the same spot. Okay, and then they want to change the fill color of Virginia. So, again, it's a matter of right clicking or control clicking. First, let's get them all highlighted here. And I'm going to right click, format data series, and we're going to go to our fill color. They want the purple, and I think it's this guy right here. Okay, so now Virginia turns purple, and you can see it also turns purple in the legend. All right, number 5 is done. Only a few more. Number 6. So the next one is switch to sales by product worksheet. And here we go. Looks pretty simple, right? Deceivingly. So the first step here is to create a pie chart based on the data in the range A4 to B7. So that would be these guys here. So we're just going to highlight this, A4 to B7, and then insert, here we go, in the chart group, pie, and I would say a 2D pie should be fine, okay? So the chart can be resized or positioned by dragging out the handles here or just by clicking on the border, and they want you to position it right in this area here from C1 to F11. It kind of fits right in there. So that should be fine. Okay, good. Apply style 5 to the chart. So let's just hover over our styles. There's 5. Okay, so there's the style that we want. And then move the legend to the right. Well, you can't drag it over there and move it. What you got to do is click on it, and again, right click or control click, format legends. And then over here, you have your positions, and we're going to go right. And there it is on the right. So that is good. And now use sales by product type as the chart title. Okay, so here's the title, which is generic because we didn't choose any of the labels when we chose the chart. If we would have chose this, it would have taken total sales 2019, but we don't have that. So let's just go in here, and what we're going to do is just overtype and sales by product type. And we got it. So that's easy enough to do. And okay. And then data labels. Again, the best fit option is what they're calling for. I don't think you have any choice on the Mac. When you just go to add data labels, you get them. And that's pretty much what you get. So you can probably change them over here if you have some style things. I think there might be some of them buried in there, but that seems to fit pretty well. You could change the color depending on how your colors are. So you don't have a lot of contrast here. So that might be interesting to change the color on that. Could work for you. But anyway, that's what they told you to do. Okay, so the next thing then is to modify the quarterly sales trend custom column chart. So that would be this guy here, clustered column chart, excuse me. So it compares with products in each quarter by switching the row and column. So what's happening here is that we have the vertical axis with the money, and then the quarters are down here, and the legend is small, medium-sized, large, and electric. So if you go to switch row and column over here, see what happens? So now the quarters become the legend, and small, mid-sized, large, and electric become the actual data series. Okay, so that's kind of cool. It's the same data, but it's just spun in a different way, depending on, again, what your communication goal is for your audience. So that works pretty nicely. So the next thing we're going to do is modify the Sparklines. So we do have Sparklines right here in the trend area. So what do they want you to do with them? And let me just go to my next page, sorry. So change the Sparkline type to line. Okay, so we got to get the Sparklines up here. Let's see what happens. So if you click on it, there you go. You got a Sparkline thing there. And if you go on that, you can see that it's in column now, and we can change it to line. Okay, so there's the line ones, which give us that kind of trendy look where we can see right away who's going up, who's going down, who's staying the same. So that works nicely. And then we can apply the accent color, which I think is this one. Okay, so that'll, again, just agree with the other kind of color schemes that we've got going on. And the other nice thing is that you can display a high point and a low point. Okay, so here's the way to do that. You've got high point and low point, and you can see that those things appear here so that you can see, you know, the highest and the lowest. Sometimes they may be at the beginning and end. Other times they're in the middle. It's flatlined over here. These two guys are just in the middle. It came up and then it hit the high point, went down, and then kind of stayed the same. Okay, so great for, you know, again, tracking those trends. Now the next, and I hope, no, it's not the last, there's two more to do. So next one is to switch to the sales by product chart. And that would be this guy here. So again, we've got a lot going on here. It might be a little hard to kind of figure out what's going on, too many bars. So what we're going to do is change this to a combo chart. So a combo chart is going to combine two different charts in there or more. So what we're going to do is come down over here and go to combo, and I'm going to choose the first one, right? Combo chart. Okay, so you can see what happens, right? We get, you know, certain data in the bars and certain data as lines. Okay, and you can see which one is which just by hovering over it. See, that's the small point, the mid-size, and the large. And this is the average, and then this is electric. Okay, so use custom colors for, so we want to make electric be part of the columns. So if we just highlight this bar and then go to change chart type again and back to cluster column. And that's what it does. There it is. Electric now becomes part of the columns, and just the average now is our line part of the combination chart, which makes more sense, right? So line is good for that. And what we want to do is change the color of our line. So again, if we have just highlight it, and I think we should be good here, just right here. So the color is going to be red accent 5. I'm just going to choose one. That's it. Yeah, bingo. And that works pretty good. Okay, so there's our average for that. Certainly makes it pop and makes it more noticeable. So we're good. And now we're up to the last step. So the last step is to see a trend line. Okay, so here's growth by product type, and we can see these trends, and here's our trend line. So the first thing we want to do is remove all these grid lines. Well, we remove them with add chart element again. If you go here, you can see grid lines, and they're all there. So all we've got to do is just click on them all, and they will gradually go away. So the major and minor grid lines disappearing like magic. Okay, so much cleaner now, and if your data is labeled pretty well, you may not need grid lines to interpret it. So the next thing is the bounds of the vertical axis. So let me see, I get myself out of the way again over here. I don't know where to put myself, actually. How about over here? So I'm going to highlight the vertical axis, and then control click it, format axis. And there's some interesting things going on here. So here is the bounds, right? So basically it takes it, to the top over there, and they want to change it to just 1.0, and watch what happens now. Okay, so the highest becomes 1000, and then add a linear trend line based on the large data series. Okay, so a linear trend line. So what we're going to do is select the large data series. Okay, so there we go. We have it selected here. Add chart element. Trend line. Okay, and they wanted a linear one, right? So linear is here, and there you go. There's that trend line, which shows you the trend for our large. And we're going to change the weight of that trend line. So we basically have to select it, and then you have your controls over there. So format trend line, I'm right clicking again to see that. And we can change the weight of the line over here. Okay, and they want 2¼ points. So we'll bring it up to that. And you can see it's a little bit stronger now. And then apply a white background. So here's the plot area. Okay, the plot area basically is just where the data series are. So we're going to format that plot area with a little bit stronger kind of background, just a little bit. But you see how it really makes it pop? Actually works very nicely. So that works really good. And then the last thing is this word art. So this won't really work too good on the Mac, to actually change this into a word art. You could add a word art, but I don't know if you can add it to this area as well. But there is other alternatives that you can pretty much, just format this type here to match those word art things. So text options, you can give it a shadow. I think that's what it was, right? It's gold and shadow. So let's give it a shadow. Accent 1 is what they wanted, and then the color is going to be gold. So that's going to be here, and there's our friend gold. Okay, so again, you're not doing it on a PC, but you're doing it on a Mac. It's a little bit different. The Mac version is a little bit more scaled down, but yet you can pretty much accomplish everything that you want to do as long as you know your way around, the other kind of ways to do it in Mac. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Excel 10, a picture is worth 1,000 words, definitely when it comes to charting. So do the project. Let me know how you do on it. Let me know if you need any help.